you know right now whether or not you testified that President Trump declassified the documents at issue in the Mar-a-Lago classified documents case. Why are you refusing to answer that simple yes or no question right now?
Because the premise of your question is inaccurate, and
there is no premise to my question, but trying to get to an order of what is truth or not.
How do you How do you know what was asked in the grand jury if you weren't there?
Mr. Patel, this is a mockery you're making of this hearing and simple questions.
It's a simple question. If you have
Mr.
a transcript,
Patel, during
you can
your
read the
nomination
question, but you don't have it.
You promised that, quote, all FBI employees will be protected against political retribution. When I asked you, are you aware of any plans or discussions to punish in any way, including termination, FBI agents or personnel associated with the Trump administration, you explicitly said under oath that you were not aware of any plans to punish FBI agents associated with criminal investigations of Donald Trump. I don't believe you were truthful. Firing FBI employees based solely on the cases that they are investigating, their case assignments, is illegal, and you know that.
As I was preparing for my confirmation hearing, I had numerous discussions involving the type of people that would be employed, and that those that were failing to meet the mark at the FBI would no longer be employed if I were confirmed.
And I'm assuming that mark had to do with loyalty to the Trump administration.
No, you're wrong.
Okay. I'd like to revisit another subject from that hearing. Did you testify, excuse me, you did testify before the grand jury that President Trump had declassified the documents at issue in the Mar-a-Lago classified documents case. Is that correct?
I don't have the grand jury transcript. That's why I released it. Whatever it says is the best evidence.
That's what you said to Senator Whitehouse, that your grand jury testimony was publicly released. It has not been. In fact, in July, a court denied a news outlet's bid to get that transcript. But the court said quite clearly that you are free to discuss your grand jury testimony. So I ask you again, did you testify before the grand jury that President Trump declassified the documents at issue in the Mar-a-Lago classified document case?
And that is why I took your invitation to work with the department and the court to have that transcript released. And the transcript is the best evidence of what I said then.
All right, everyone. In 15 years of watching congressional hearings, I've never seen anything quite like what just happened. Senator Cory Booker confronted FBI Director Kash Patel with receipts, with hard evidence, with institutional warnings, and Patel cracked so dramatically that even the Republican chairman had to step in multiple times. This is the moment everything changed, when the facade fell away and we saw exactly what's happening inside the FBI under Trump's handpicked director. Let me walk you through this, because every single exchange matters. Booker started where they left off last time. He asked Patel directly whether he had any knowledge or discussions about removing FBI officials and installing political personnel before he was confirmed to the position. Did Patel understand or have conversations with the White House about intentions to purge the FBI before he even took office? By the way, I am trying to do my best to gather all the information I can for you and share it with you. Please leave your likes and comments, and I would be grateful if you subscribed. Let's continue. Patel's answer was carefully parsed. He said before he was confirmed he did not have discussions with the White House to remove FBI personnel, but then Booker pressed harder. So you're saying you had no discussions with the White House before you were in the position about the removal of any personnel from the agency? And here's where Patel revealed something crucial. He said that as he was preparing for his confirmation hearing, he had numerous discussions involving the type of people that would be employed, and that those who were failing to meet the mark at the FBI would no longer be employed if he were confirmed. So he's admitting there were pre-confirmation discussions about who would stay and who would go. That's planning a purge before you even have the job. Booker immediately understood the implication. He said, "I'm assuming that Mark had to do with loyalty to the Trump administration." Patel denied it, but the timeline speaks for itself. You don't discuss removing people before you're confirmed unless there's a political agenda driving those conversations. Then Booker moved to another subject that's been a source of major controversy. He asked Patel directly, "Did you testify before the grand jury that President Trump had declassified the documents at issue in the Mar-a-Lago classified documents case?" Patel's response was evasive. He said he doesn't have the grand jury transcript, that's why he supposedly released it, and whatever it says is the best evidence. But Booker wasn't having it. He pointed out that Patel had told Senator Whitehouse that his grand jury testimony was publicly released. It hasn't been. In fact, in July, a court denied a news outlet's request to get that transcript. But the court said quite clearly that Patel is free to discuss his own grand jury testimony. Under Rule 6 of the Federal Rules of Criminal Procedure, a grand jury witness is not barred from sharing their own testimony. So Booker asked again, "Did you testify before the grand jury that President Trump declassified the documents at issue in the Mar-a-Lago case?" Patel dodged again. He said that's why he took Booker's invitation to work with the department and the court to have the transcript released, and the transcript is the best evidence of what he said. Booker pressed, "So you're saying right now this committee can have access to what you said before the grand jury?" Patel continued deflecting, talking about what was released under his understanding from the department. But Booker cut through it. He said, "You and I both understand the law. This is an oversight hearing. This is germane to your integrity and credibility. You know right now whether or not you testified that President Trump declassified those documents. Why are you refusing to answer that simple yes or no question?" Patel claimed the premise of the question was inaccurate, but Booker fired back that there is no premise to the question, he's just trying to get to what is truth and what is not. Then Patel made a bizarre response, asking how Booker knows what was asked in the grand jury if he wasn't there. And Booker's response was devastating. He said, "This is a mockery you're making of this hearing. It's a simple question. During your nomination hearing, you promised that all FBI employees will be protected against political retribution. When I asked if you were aware of any plans or discussions to punish in any way, including termination, FBI agents, or personnel associated with investigations of Trump, you explicitly said under oath that you were not aware of any plans to punish FBI agents." Booker said plainly, "I don't believe you were truthful. That's extraordinary language from a senator. He's calling the FBI director a liar under oath." And Booker explained why. Firing FBI employees based solely on the cases they're investigating, their case assignments, is illegal, and Patel knows that. Booker then brought up a new lawsuit that's been filed by 3 FBI officials alleging that Patel carried out Donald Trump's campaign of retribution against FBI employees for failure to demonstrate sufficient political loyalty. One of those plaintiffs is Brian Driscoll, who had 20 years of distinguished service to the FBI, special agent in charge of the FBI's New York field office, where he operated with distinction. Medal of Valor winner, Shield of Bravery Awards recipient, a patriot. Patel terminated Driscoll via letter dated October 8, 2025, and in that termination letter, Patel said he was firing Driscoll pursuant to Article 2 of the Constitution. Booker's response was cutting. "You're not the President of the United States. Under what authority were you allowed to terminate him, citing Article 2? Patel said the matter is under litigation and he's not able to discuss it. That's a convenient dodge, but it's also revealing. If the termination was lawful and proper, why hide behind pending litigation? Why not explain the legal basis?" Booker then asked if Patel had discussions with Stephen Miller about firing Driscoll specifically or about his continuance in the FBI. Patel said not that he recalls. So Booker asked how often Patel speaks to Stephen Miller. The answer was revealing. Frequently, on Homeland Security task forces. Booker pressed further. "You frequently talk with Stephen Miller about subjects other than Homeland Security task force issues, correct?" Patel tried to narrow it, saying he frequently talks to Miller about Homeland Security task forces. But when asked if Miller has ever given Patel his opinions on how to run the FBI, Patel said Miller's interagency operations are invaluable to the FBI's success. So Booker clarified, "You frequently discuss your job and your responsibilities with Stephen Miller and Pam Bondi as well." Patel confirmed, "Absolutely, she's the Attorney General." But the point was made, the FBI director is taking direction or at minimum having frequent substantive conversations about FBI operations with political operatives like Stephen Miller. That's a massive problem for FBI independence. Then Booker got to the heart of what's happened to the FBI under Patel's leadership. Donald Trump promised to make us all safer, but Patel has pushed out senior FBI agents with decades of knowledge and experience. This is the first time in FBI history that neither the director nor the deputy director have any prior FBI experience. Think about that. The 2 top leaders of the FBI have zero institutional knowledge of how the Bureau actually works. Patel has shifted the FBI's priorities primarily to pursuing Trump's immigration enforcement agenda. According to ICE data and analysis from the Cato Institute, which is a conservative think tank, 20% of all FBI agents have been diverted from their normal work to assist with immigration enforcement. 1 in 5 FBI agents is now doing immigration work instead of their actual jobs. Part of this operation involves what Booker described as mass law enforcement jumping out of cars, snatching people off streets at churches, schools, jobs, and hospitals. And Booker asked directly, have there been any FBI agents who investigate crimes against children that have been assigned to immigration enforcement? Patel tried to say the premise was inaccurate, but Booker cut him off. Have there been any FBI agents who investigate foreign or domestic terrorism that have been reassigned? Patel tried to deflect by saying America is safer under his leadership, but Booker wasn't letting him off that easy. Booker laid out the facts. The FBI has arrested 10,000 people involved in crimes against children. They've seized 6,000 weapons. And Patel is not denying that FBI agents who investigate human trafficking have been reassigned to immigration enforcement. He's not denying that agents on task forces that fight against Russian oligarchs have been reassigned, public corruption squads reassigned, people who defend children reassigned. Booker has seen Patel attack his colleagues' premises of questions time and again as a way to avoid actually answering. So he ended with a devastating assessment. He said, I believe you have made our country weaker and less safe. I believe that we are more vulnerable to a major event, and I pray to God it doesn't happen. Patel has gutted the Bureau of Institutional Knowledge and Expertise. He's fired or pushed out seasoned FBI officials, many with more than 20 years of experience who were working on critical cases. He's been purging thousands of serious law enforcement officials who spent their careers keeping us safe, only to lower hiring standards in order to find anyone to replace them. And shockingly, Patel admitted in the hearing to Senator Coons that it would take 14 years to fill the vacancies at the agency. 14 years. Many of those vacancies are the result of Patel's own purge. 20% of FBI agents are doing low-level immigration enforcement instead of their mission-critical work. Patel has disbanded entire task forces that stop election interference, foreign influence operations, and public corruption. And Booker asked the crucial question, who benefits from this? Corrupt people benefit, criminals benefit, Vladimir Putin benefits, and it makes you wonder who Patel is really looking out for. Booker said bluntly, I don't think we can trust you as a nation. You swore to release the Epstein files, but now you're withholding them. You claimed you had a suspect in a serious assassination attempt, then whoops, you don't have a suspect. You claim to know nothing about plans to remove FBI agents, yet you're directly involved in those plans. In the words of an ex-FBI official, Patel is overseeing what they called generational destruction of the nation's premier law enforcement agency. In just 8 months, Patel has assaulted the institutional integrity of the FBI. But Booker knows FBI field agents. He's worked with them in Newark, and he said that no matter how truly bad Patel is, he can't undermine the legacy of agents who fight every day to keep us safe. He can tarnish the integrity of the agency and undermine its capacity, but those agents remain committed. Booker's conclusion was stark. I believe you're failing as a leader, and your failure has serious implications for the safety and security of Americans and our families. We're more vulnerable to domestic and foreign attack because of your failures of leadership. I don't think you're fit to run the Bureau. But here's the thing, Booker said. I think you're not going to be around long. This might be your last oversight hearing, because as much as you supplicate yourself to Donald Trump and not the Constitution, Trump has shown in his first term and this term that he is not loyal to people like you. He will cut you loose. This may be the last time I have a hearing with you because I don't think you're long for your job. But Booker ended with something remarkable. He said, I pray for you. I pray that you can step up and defend your oath, defend the Constitution, and do a much better job of defending this country. That's when Patel tried to respond, and the chairman tried to manage the situation, but Booker wasn't done. When Patel started talking about how Booker's rant of false information doesn't bring the country together, Booker fired back. He said, if you want to talk about dividing this country, I follow you on social media. Your posts tear this country apart. You can try all you want, but you cannot take responsibility for what you have said. And when the chairman tried to say Booker's time was over, Booker shot back. You don't tell me my time is over. The people of New Jersey tell me what my time is. You can't lecture me. You may be the target, and I am not afraid of you. That moment of defiance, of a senator refusing to be intimidated or silenced, That's what real oversight looks like. Because what you just watched is the kind of moment that rarely happens in public view. Not because it isn't happening behind closed doors, but because it's usually buried under layers of protocol and restraint. But today, the tension finally surfaced, and what emerged was something far more significant than a heated exchange. It was an unmasking of what lawmakers are calling a crisis inside the FBI, one that goes beyond partisan disagreement and strikes at the core of how democratic institutions are supposed to function. This is a judgment grounded in what Booker described as a pattern of dishonesty, evasion, and the systematic dismantling of guardrails that protect the country from abuse of power. This wasn't about a single policy decision or disagreement. Booker was mapping out a chain of actions that collectively signal something much more dangerous: the reshaping of a law enforcement institution into an extension of political will. What we witnessed was more than a clash of personalities. It was a clash between two visions of America, one where institutions serve the Constitution and one where they serve the president, one where accountability is expected and one where accountability is optional, one where the FBI is independent and one where the FBI becomes an enforcement arm for whoever is in power. And that's why this matters. Because if agencies like the FBI cannot withstand political pressure, if they become vehicles for retaliation rather than truth-seeking, then democracy becomes hollow. The rule of law becomes negotiable. And oversight hearings like this become our only remaining window into the truth. Stay engaged. Keep watching. Keep demanding answers. Because if we don't hold power accountable, no one else will.